So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to come for our session today. And today we're going to be talking about the changes that we have made in our public restorative practices run. And we'll also go through, I'm just going to share screen now, and we will also go through the understanding of funding that SSG has provided. And so this is going to be helpful for everyone who is coming for this anyway, because the funding from SSG, the information about the funding is not only for our course, it's for any WSQ courses that anyone would be going for. So it's good information for everyone and anyone. Okay, so let's start. So as mentioned today, we're going to be talking about what else are you getting besides the old RP training, what are the available funding from SkillsFuture SG, and what is the new sign-up platform. Okay, so the most important thing that you need to know is that we have renamed the term, the course title from Fundamentals of Restorative Practices to Building Relational Capacity. And I'll go into details on why we make that change later on. But since there might be people who do not know what restorative practices is, I'm going to show us a short video to help people get an understanding of just what RP is. Hang on, let me reshare that. I don't think I've set the sound. Okay, sound is on. So this is a short 2-minute clip.
Our world is changing at a breathtaking pace. Social patterns that have long characterized human life are changing dramatically around the globe, diminishing social bonds within families, schools, workplaces, and communities. But humans are hardwired to connect. Just as we need food, shelter, and clothing, we also need strong and meaningful relationships to thrive. With all this in mind, what is restorative practices? Restorative practices is an emerging social science that studies how to strengthen relationships between individuals and within communities. When put into practice, the effects are profound. In schools, students experience greater safety and sense of belonging, resulting in improved behavior, less bullying, and less violence. In workplaces, leaders facilitate direct communication among staff and address conflict as it arises. The result is higher performance, greater accountability, and effective collaboration. In criminal justice, new options allow victims and offenders, friends and family, to repair the emotional harm caused by crime. Throughout our neighborhoods, restorative practices give regular people more voice in the issues that matter most. In a nutshell, restorative practices is the science of relationships and community. Your individual daily interactions have a big impact on the world around you, at your job, with young people, and throughout your community. How we relate matters. This video was brought to you by the International Institute for Restorative Practices. To learn more, attend our flagship event, Basic Restorative Practices, enroll in a graduate course, or join us at a world conference.
Right. So as you have heard from that video, we talked about what exactly is restorative practices in a nutshell. And it talks about it being the science of relationships and community. In other words, what it aims to do is to get a clear understanding of what you can do to strengthen your relationships and to make engagement with the people around you more effective. And this cuts across many things, from workplaces, between colleagues, to schools, teachers and students, and even with parents, and even at home with your own children as well. So then what exactly is building relational capacity, the name of which we are switching to? Now it says here that relational capacity is the ability to relate and connect to others. So what this really means is to increase the awareness, one's awareness on where you are at, what is the state of mind mentally and emotionally, to be able to relate and connect with others. In fact, building relational capacity comes first before restorative practices, because one person, an individual needs to be very aware of the current state that he or she is in to want to even create social bonds. And once you're aware of that, you can then move on to be very intentional of how you are going to build those social bonds. And that is where restorative practices come in. And exactly this is why we changed the name, because we wanted to provide a more inclusive title that focuses on relational capacity of the practitioner, following which you will be able to build social bonds using the framework of restorative practices. All right, so that explains why we have changed the name from fundamentals of restorative practices to building relational capacity. So on to the table of contents for today. There will be 4 things that we will be going through. The first one, we will be talking about the course design. What's new? What is the course duration, the contents, and the assessment? Number 2, we're going to be talking about the funding availability. And as mentioned earlier on, this is a very useful piece for anybody, because when we talk about SSG's funding, it relates not only to our course, but any WSQ course that you might want to go for in Singapore. Number 3, we're going to talk about the sign-up platform to get an understanding of how you would want to sign up and to let you know that our platform is not a scam. And number 4, we're going to just wrap up with an understanding of the differences between the old workshop and the new workshop. So let's go straight into the course design. So first up, we will discuss the duration, contents, and the assessment. For duration, day 1, we are going to anchor ourselves on why relationships matter, what does relationships mean to you, and what does effective relationships really mean. And then on day 2, we will go deeper into the framework and the concepts of restorative practices, how that will help in building effective relationships. And in day 3, we will go into the restorative principles and the reflective methods. Now, for anyone who has ever experienced our old training, we do not go into the restorative principles and reflective methods. So this whole piece here is new. Now, what's so new about this is that a lot of the times when people understand the concepts of restorative practices, a question after the workshop is, how do I know? How do I know I'm being restorative? How do I know people are experiencing me being restorative? And that's where we go into the principles of restorative practices to have a clearer awareness of what needs to happen so that people can experience you in a restorative way. After day 3, you will go for a 2 months practice and reflection. And I'm going to talk more about this later on. And then you will come back to us for an assessment. Now, a lot of people are wondering, why do we need to do an assessment? An assessment is required for all WSQ courses because it is funded. So in order to ensure that the government knows they're spending, they're taking care of their citizens and they are funding the courses that you go for, they need to track. And in order to track, they track through the learning experiences, which is your assessment, and of course, what is the output. So that's why an assessment is necessary for all WSQ courses. But not to worry about this assessment. I'll go into a little bit details of it later, but don't worry yourself about it for now. So in conclusion, it is a 3 days course with 2 months practice and a 1.5 hours assessment. So let's go into the contents, and this is what we are going to receive for all the 3 days. The top right-hand side is a legend to show you what are the different pieces of activity, you can call it, or the different ways of learning that's going to occur for each content. So for day 1, we talk about relationships, and we want to anchor on the importance of effective relationships on day, and then followed by the relational capacity constructs to help people get a good understanding on what are the 7 constructs that would help guide practitioners into providing a restorative experience for others. And then we'll go into the practice domains. I don't want you guys to worry too much about what all this really means, okay, but just get a rough idea on what are the areas that we'll touch on. So the practice domains here pretty much talks about the 4 different ways a person would function as they are engaging with others. On day 2, the practice domains activity will be continued, and we'll take a further deeper dive into the experiences of the different styles. And then we'll go into the fair process, where we get a good sense on what exactly being fair really means for other people, what fair process aims to achieve, and what it is not. And we'll go through the shame effect. And we talked about, in this space here, we'll talk about why shame really matters for people, what it especially means for service users, and to get a sense on where shame might occur and the sources of shame. Moving on to day 3, that's where we go into the 7 principles of restorative practices. Now, this 7 principles is researched by LCCS, and these different 7 principles help people get a good understanding of what it means to experience a person restoratively. And then we'll of course talk about a relational engagement, because what we want to do is not just understanding the concepts, but how do you speak the language? What kind of questions do you ask? How do you design your questions when you want to facilitate a conversation? And of course, the practice reflection method, where we talk about the 2 different models of reflection, and that's the Gibbs reflective cycle and Lawrence Wilkes reflect model. So this piece is important because you will be using this in your journaling, which is the very first assessment component that you will go through. And we'll talk more about that later on as well. So if you notice and you see those little icons, you would see that a lot of our content has got tons of activities. You see that little doggy balloon there? That's an activity in itself, and the drama icons, that's where you do a lot of role plays, and that exists in almost every component of our training. So what you are getting is not just a sit-down lecture style, it is an experiential, experience that you're going to get. So you'll be fully immersed in it. So let's hop on over to the assessment. So for the assessment, as mentioned earlier on, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes, and there are 3 areas in this assessment. The first one is the portfolio, and that's where your 2 different reflective models will need to be in place, because you will need, over the 2 months period, you will need to go through journals and pen down your practice experience. Now, this piece is something new as well. In the old restorative training, we didn't have this. And this is a very important piece, because this helps to track the learning experience and to integrate what you have learned into your work. Now, you do not have to worry so much about this, because this will be guided. So at any time, people are free to connect with us to get a good sense on whether or not they are doing things the right way. If they're confused about something, we can guide them along the way. So when you come for the day of assessment, all you got to do is just simply provide these 4 reflection journals, and this piece is done. Then after that, we'll go into our role play. So for the role play component, you will be doing it together with another candidate, and you will role play an experience, and a case study will be provided to you. And after that, you'll be followed by oral questioning of that role play. And then after that, we'll go through a typical one-on-one oral questioning experience. Now, this whole assessment is an open book assessment. So if you have all your notes with you, you are free to use your notes at any time and use it to respond to any question that you're going to get. So I can assure you the assessment is very doable. Okay, so we'll move on to the funding availability. At this point of time, I just want to inform everyone that you are free to type in your questions in the Zoom chat at any time, and we will address it at the end of this whole session. Okay, so for funding availability, okay, this is the fun part. This is where people will realize how our government is supporting us in our learning and development. Okay, there are 5 things that we want to go through here. The first one we're going to go through is the SFEC, which is your SkillsFuture Enterprise Credit, ETSS, Enhanced Training Support for SMEs, MCES, which is your SkillsFuture Mid-Career Enhanced Subsidy. Some of you might have heard of this one. SFC, which is your typical SkillsFuture credit. This is the one that most individuals use on their own when they want to go for any WSU course. We're going through this one later on. And we will go through the absentee payroll. This is something that might be new to you guys, but maybe not so for your administrative stuff. Just gonna take out my pen here. Okay, now every piece of the information that you see here are extracted directly from SkillsFuture's portal. Okay, I did not write this on my own. So basically, what is SFEC? Now, this is a funding from SSG that a lot of people are not aware of. Oh, by the way, before I continue, SSG refers to SkillsFuture SG up here. WSG is your Workforce Singapore. Now, Workforce Singapore used to be known as your WDA. For some of you guys who might have heard of that, they have renamed to WSG. So the SkillsFuture SG basically focuses on the learning and development of the individual, and WSG focuses on the jobs and the career after you've taken all your courses here, right? Okay, so what exactly is SFEC? Now, this is a one-off $10,000 that is credited to Singapore organizations. So if you're coming from a non-profit or you're coming from a corporate, but it's a Singapore-based organization, you will be given this $10,000 straight up. And the beauty of this $10,000 is that it covers 90% of the course fees. And it covers for both individual employee training as well as organizational-wide training. What this means is that if you have an employee that has gone on an individual training, you can top up the funding that your company is paying for on top of whatever they have already been funded for an individual employee. Also, if your organization feels like, okay, we want to do a organizational-wide training, and say, for example, if the training fees is $10,000, covering 90% of it, it means at the end of the day, your organization only pays $1,000 for the organizational training. So it's actually pretty good, you know, and but it's a one-time thing. But a lot of organizations have not tapped on this. I'm not sure why, but I provided all the links here to provide you with information, more information about it, and even how to claim, and pretty much what it covers. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly touch on these enterprise courses, and I'm going to just flip over to my browser screen. So how do you know if a course is available to that your SFEC funding is usable for a course? Clicking on that link here will take you to this portal, and in this portal here, if you search on any course that you're interested in, and if it pops up, it means that that course is eligible for the enterprise funding. Okay, so for example, if we put in building relational capacity and we search it up, there you see it appears here. It means that when you take our building relational capacity and you use your SFEC or enterprise credit fund, you could get a 90% funding of the course, and that's great. I'll break down the course details for you later on. Okay, so moving over to ETSS, what is this? Now, ETSS is your enhanced training support for SMEs. So in other words, if your organization is a small, medium enterprise, it will cover additional funding. And this is automatic. You don't even have to worry about this. And normally when you apply for a WSQ course and you get the invoice itself will show you whether or not you are eligible, your organization is eligible if you're an SME. So it will show that you don't have to do anything about it, okay? The only thing that you need to take note on is that this covers Singaporean citizens and Singapore permanent residents. Actually, all the funding from SkillsFuture will only cover Singapore citizens and Singapore permanent residents. Okay, so going over to MCES. So what is this? This is the Mid-Career Enhanced Subsidy. And basically what this means is that any Singaporean or PR who is 40 years and above will get 90% or 70% additional funding on top of the baseline funding. And I'll explain that in detail later on as well. Now, what you need to know here is that this 90%, you know, a lot of times when you see course advertisements, they tell you up to 90% funding, right? Now that is only applicable if that organization is a CET. So what is CET? CET means your continuing education and training centers. And those are the big players like NUS, SMU, IAL, you know, those are the big boys in the universities and the large training organizations where they offer courses that are certificate requirement in order for you to do the job. For example, forklifting, for example, service staff or security, for example. So when you go for those courses, it is a requirement from the employer and the employee to have that certificate in order to get the work, the job. So those are offered by CETs, and that is why it's 90% funding, because whether the individual likes it or not, they have to take those courses. Other than that, everybody else outside of being a CET, for example, LCCS and other training organizations, they will receive 70% funding for people who are 40 years and above. And these are for all WSQ courses, okay? Again, this is automatic. You do not have to do anything about it. It will be automatically invoiced, because when you sign up for a WSQ course, the employee is required to put in the IC number. And then the IC number will be auto-tabulated in the backend system, and then the cost will come out. Now, of course, administrative staff are free to check in with the training organizations on whether or not their staff is eligible for this funding, because there is a calculator back end that training organizations have, and they can churn out the details for you. Again, more information are provided here, so all these PDF will be available for you to download on our website, and I'll show you that later as well. So what is SFC? SFC is basically your baseline SkillsFuture credits, and this is your own individual credits. If you have never used it, you would have a total of $1,000 in it. And thus far, I've spoken with quite a lot of people. They have not quite used it yet. So many people have got $1,000 credit to be used. And please note that you have to use this because it will expire in December 2025. I do not know if SkillsFuture will renew it, but I would recommend to just consider using it. However, to use this, when learners apply for the course, they will select as an individual sponsored, not employee sponsored. Okay. Absentee payroll. So you see the beauty of SSG's funding is that on top of all the funding that you are already getting, they continue to fund the organization for the time that the employee is not working. So they even provide you a calculator on how much the organization is going to get. I'm just going to flip over to the browser to show you. So I provided the links, but when you click on that link, all administrative staff can come here. There's some predefined fields that are already in there, but of course you can switch if you want to. And you just fill in the rest of the details. Say, for example, if your staff is earning $5,000, for example, and they are spending 44 hours at work, total hours during training during working hours, let's just say a one-day course is typically 8 hours. And let's just say they didn't have any training outside of work hours, that's a 0, and you click on calculate. And there, it provides you with the information on exactly how much the organization is going to receive for coverage of the employee not being at the workplace during work hours. Okay, so with all that said, right now, I'm going to break it down further for you by providing you with a case study. So in this case study, we have Sam, who would like to attend the course Building Relational Capacity by LCCS. Now, LCCS has a certifiable skills training courses with up to 70% funding. So it's a WSQ course. So what's going to happen is this. I'm going to guide you through this table, okay? So funding type, the course fee before funding, so this is the original cost, is $1,200 for citizens and PR above 21 years old. It is also $1,200 for Singapore citizens above 40 years old and above. Now, SSG will give you a baseline funding whether you like it or not. It's given to you anyway. So all your WSQ cost is straight up 50% discounted already. So that's $600 off the 1,200, and also same for citizens above 40 and above, it's $600 off. Now they will top up with this, your MCES. So if the system detects that your employee is 40 and above, you get a further $240 discount off the price. So at the end of everything, for Singapore citizens and PRs who are above 21 years old, but under 40 years old, you will pay $600 as an individual. So remember, this is individual. So as an individual, you will pay $600. And for people who are 40 and above, your course fees will be $360. Okay. So this is for individual sponsored. Now we're going to move on to company sponsored. So same thing, Sam would like to attend the course building relational capacity by LCCS, and he is going to receive a 70% funding. So here I'm going to guide you again. All right, so just look at my drawing. So no, don't worry about non-SME. So let's look at SME first. So at SME, for Singaporean citizen and PR, again, the cost fee before funding, you get 1,200. Okay. They'll give you that basic baseline funding of 50%, making it half the price, so $600 off the cost fee. And then they would check, the system will check if you are coming from an SME, they will give you an additional 20% discount off the cost fee, which is $240 additional off. And of course, mid-career enhanced subsidy in this case will not apply. Why? Because as an SME, they don't care if whether or not your employee is below 40 years old or above 40 years old. They are just going to give you that additional 20% on top of this 50%. So it's an additional funding that you're going to get just because you are coming from an SME. And that makes your cost fee $360 for your employee. Now, if you are coming from a larger organization and non-SME, for Singaporean citizen and a PR, above 21 years old, same thing, your baseline cost fee is 1,200. 50% off is the same thing, you're going to get it, minus $600. Because you are not SME, you will not get this, so 0 here. Because the staff is above 21 but below 40 years old, 0 also here. But they will still be eligible for MCES funding, which is 20% off. So your employees from a large organization who is 40 and above will end up paying $360. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the best part. The best part of it is, imagine if you could make your course fee $36 from an SME, $60 if you are a large organization, or $36 if you're coming from a large organization with people who are 40 and above. How does this look? Because of the SkillsFuture Enterprise Credit. So same thing, just taking directly $360, $660 from the previous original price here. You are going to start off with this cost from an SME, non-SME, but Singaporean citizen above 21 and non-SME Singapore citizen 40 years old and above. Remember that your SkillsFuture Enterprise credits gives you an additional 90% off the total fee. So for an SME, you will end up paying only $36 for $1,200 cost, and $60 if you're a larger organization, and $36 if you're a large organization with an employee who's 40 and above. So they really take care of their Singapore organizations and the Singaporeans and the PRs. Okay, so this pretty much ends the funding availability section. Okay, again, if so I'm just going to quickly touch on what exactly are our sign-up platform, just so that people know that it is not a spam website. Now, we have a training management system, and all training organizations in Singapore who are a part of the WSQ format, where, in other words, they have courses that are WSQ available in SSG, they are required to set up a training management system that is approved by SSG. Okay, so for example, even your NUS, your IAL, your SMU, they all have this training management system. It's just that you don't see, you see the branding as their own school's branding. So for LCCS, I'm going to show you how we're going to sign up. So we have our WSU courses as well. And there are two ways that you can pretty much sign up. One is through the portal, which is the training management system. And the other one is if you are doing a large group sign up, you can fill in an Excel file, which we will give it to you, and you can email it back to us, and we will sign up back end for you. So just very quickly, I'm going to take you through what it looks like on the sign up portal for LCCS. Basically, if you click on our email list that you receive, our marketing email list, where you receive the course applications, and you click on that button, it will take you straight to my SkillsFuture portal. And if you navigate the SkillsFuture portal, and you scroll down, you will be able to see the schedule. So on the schedule, you can see what are the upcoming training sessions. So actually, we have one that is scheduled for March itself. Now, SkillsFuture just recently did a facelift to their website. So they changed the look and feel. And when they did that, they kind of like missed out on the registration button. Previously in the past, whenever there's a course scheduled, there will be a little registration button that appears here and people can just click on it and register straight away, but it's missing now. So I'm checking in with SkillsFuture on whether they will re-implement this thing, but don't hold your breath for it. The other way that you can get connected to our courses or sign up for our courses, of course, is through our website. And I'm just going to quickly show you the navigation. So we are actually in the midst of changing the look and feel of our website also. It's not implemented yet, but in the next couple of days, probably by next week, it will be implemented. So when you go to lccs.org.sg, you will see it looking like this. So on our website, if you scroll down, you will see this banner here. And this banner here, if you click on this, it will take you to all our courses. And if you want to download the PDF that we have gone through today, you can click on this and you will get the PDF so that you know what we have gone through today as well. So if not, you will click on services on the top banner here and click on general public under training and consultancy tab. And when you click on that, it will take you to all our training for the general public. And for building relational capacity, it's right here. Of course, we've got all our other training available as well here. And if you scroll to the bottom and you click apply now, it will take you to our training portal sign up page. And basically, we are using this organization called Pandai Suite. By the way, Pandai Suite is also the training management portal that IAL, Institute of Adult Learning, they use that as well in the backend. You just don't see the word Pandai Suite. So if you click on sign up, then you just go through the usual sign up processes again. If that's not what you want and you prefer us to support you on that, you simply need to let us know and we'll email you this Excel file, fill it in, send it back to us, and we will get you signed up backend. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a very quick summary on what is the differences between the old and the new. So in a nutshell, again, don't worry about the abbreviations here or the course, the content here. But just get a good sense on what you are getting. So previously, practice domains, yes, the old workshop has it as well as the new one. Fair process, the old has it, the new also has it. Effects and shame, same thing. Restorative questions, same thing. And this is where things gets different. So 7 principles that talks about the experience that people are going to get in order to the experience that people are going to get from you, so that you know that you have functioned in a restorative manner. This was not available in the old training, but in the new one, it's there. We talk about the relational capacity construct, remembering that it's important to have a clear awareness of the state that you are in order to want to build social bonds. Again, this is not in the old workshop, but it will be available in the new one. And we will help practitioners to build their portfolio in the new one, not available in the old one. And of course, because of the assessment, people will get certified. So they will be receiving a certificate that is WSQ certified. I didn't mention this earlier on, but this is actually important because the WSQ certification is a national certification. In other words, it will appear in your skills passport automatically when you sign in with your SingPass. Let me just quickly show it to you here. So if you go to your SkillsFuture portal and you log in with your SingPass, what happens is that you will be able to see all the national accredited workshops and courses that you've gone through, all the way from when you were in primary school. Yes, they track all the way from when you're primary school. Okay, so I'm just going to show it to you. So then when you will see your name here. When you click on it and you go to your skills passport, it will pretty much load all your learning achievements here. Give it a while to load. So you can see that I've done a lot of things here. You see my advanced certificate in learning and performance, ACLP cert, is automatically here already. You do not have to do anything special. And if you go down the line, you will see all the other certificates that you get, O levels, and A levels, and your primary schools are all there. Okay, so yeah, the government has it all basically. Okay, so it's all there, so you don't have to worry about whether you're going to receive the cert or not. Okay, so just very quickly, what other courses do we have? And then we'll go into the Q&A, okay? So we have facilitating restorative circles, where we talk about what it means when you bring people into the experience of a circle. We have pure facilitation, so we talk about what it means to engage people in a pure facilitative manner. This has got nothing to do with restorative practices. This is for people who are just simply interested in how they can have different facilitating experiences for the work that they do, whether it's project management or whether it's school engagement. You can come for this as well. We've got family engagement courses that talks about how people will engage families and what are the different ways they can bring family and people together in order to work things out or to build efficacy in the family. And we have another WSU course that is targeted more at the corporate space, which is focusing more on your HR and organizational culture. It's called Build Workplace Relationships Through Restorative Practices.
So, Leonard, I think James has a question about what's the definition of an SME. Do you by chance know, like whether a participant would know whether their organization is an SME?
Actually, you know what? That's a really good question, James. I have to be frank with you. I personally do not know what exactly are the criteria in order to be classified as an SME. I believe it's got to do with the overall budget, expense and budget, and profits of the organization, as well as staff strength. So there's a couple of criteria. But there is an SME portal that you can check whether or not you are classified as an SME. So a little Google would help with that. Okay, so we did also provided a Padlet for people to post some of their questions. I'm just going to read out two of the questions that was on the Padlet, and I'm going to answer it here so that people who are not aware of this will also be aware of the question and the answer. And people who are watching this recording will also get a sense of the answer to that question. So the first question is, will participants receive a separate certificate upon completion of each workshop besides in Skills Passport? I think this question is relating to what I've mentioned earlier on. So when you go for a WSQ course, you will automatically receive the certificate, and it will be tagged to your Skills Passport when you log into your SkillsFuture account using your SingPass. So it's already going to be there. And there's a way to download as well. It is possible to download it. Second question is, may I know when is the next run of building relational capacity and facilitating restorative circles workshop? So the next run for building relational capacity is actually on the 7th of March. So for 3 days, 7, 14, and 21. Then don't forget the 2 months break and then coming back for the 1.5 hours assessment. So March is the next one for building relational capacity. And for facilitating restorative circle, the upcoming one is on the 31st of March. So that is information that is available on our website, as well as for the WSQ one, as well as on the My SkillsFuture portal. We will also, because this is on a Padlet, we will also answer these on the Padlet and provide the Padlet link again in a follow-up post mailer. Okay, Kalija, so you are asking, in order for one to be certified, do they have to complete the building relational capacity and facilitating restorative circles workshop? No. So those are separate workshops altogether. So I think what I understand from your question is coming from because previously the workshop comes in pairs, right? They have to come for day 1 and day 2. So no, we are abolishing that to make things easier. People can eventually come for either building relational capacity or facilitating restorative circles. So since you're asking that, we're actually in the midst of converting facilitating restorative circles into a WSQ format, and it will be delinked. In other words, they can attend either or both. It's up to you. I hope that answers your question, Khalija.
Yes, Leonard, thank you. Can I also just have an understanding? If let's say my team members were to facilitate circles in our organization, but they have not attended the facilitating restorative circles workshop itself, and they only attended the building relational capacity, are they able to do so?
Unlikely.
Okay.
Unlikely, because building relational capacity is pretty, I would say it's pretty much the foundation layer for people to get a very clear understanding of what it means when you're in the state of being able to build relationships with others, because there could be people who may be struggling with certain areas and may need to have a clearer understanding on what they need to work on in order to provide people with the experience of wanting to build community. And then they go into a deeper understanding of how, right? So that's the restorative practice component, where it helps people to have to learn concepts on what exactly they can do so that people can get a restorative experience from the practitioner. But typically, that is more so one-on-one, or an advanced version of that would be how they would integrate that into policies of the organization, HR policies, or student policies, or even the culture of the organizations. Facilitating restorative circles is very specifically on what it means to function and design circles in a restorative manner. So anybody can run circles, of course, it's already been happening, right? But then there are very specific principles that helps the facilitator get a sense on how you can create a safe space so that when people come together, they are already prepared that this is a safe space that we can all share and talk about what really matters. And that's all going to happen in the Facilitating Restorative Circles workshop. I hope that answers your question, Khalija.
Yes, thanks, Leonard. Can I also ask a final question?
Sure.
Going back on the schedule, I mean, a lot of things is happening in March for our side. In the event that we miss out, the schedule, and cannot make it for March, the cycle in March, how often is the information updated for the next run of the course or workshop?
Sure. Great question. So actually, we already have the schedule out across the year. For building relational capacity, we run that once every quarter. So in fact, once every 3 months, we will run it. So the next one should be in May. We haven't put up all the schedules yet because actually we are in the midst of converting our web page. So once that is up, we will probably fill in the schedule nicely so people can get a good sense on what are the available training dates across all our courses.
Okay, thanks, Leonard.
You're more than welcome. So if you're all good, just remember that we will provide this the PDF of the presentation as well as the recording of this session for everyone to download so that you could relook into the funding availability, because it would definitely be helpful for you for any other course that you wish to attend or your colleagues wish to attend. So do look out. We will send a mailer on our change of the website, and then you can download it from the links provided earlier on or shown earlier on. All right, if not, I wish everybody a great Friday evening and have an excellent weekend, and bye-bye.